What happens when 5 entitled young men decide to turn an elderly woman's breakfast into a cruel joke? They had no idea who they were messing with, and the moment her son arrived, their lives changed forever. The porcelain shattered across the diner floor, spraying scrambled eggs and steaming coffee across Dorothy's wheelchair. It was 9:45 a.m. on an ordinary Thursday at Miller's Diner, but what was about to unfold would be anything but ordinary. "Oops, guess my hand slipped," Tyler sneered, his grin broadcasting the deliberate cruelty behind his actions. His 4 companions erupted into hysterics, pounding the tables as if witnessing the year's greatest comedy. Before we continue with what happened next, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this story of justice and redemption, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another episode from Echoes of Adium. Dorothy Patterson, 72 years old and bound to her wheelchair after a stroke 4 years earlier, didn't flinch. She simply gazed at the mess surrounding her feet with an expression that spoke volumes, not shock, but confirmation. As if this was merely another piece of evidence in a case she'd been silently building. "Need some help cleaning up, Grandma?" Brad mocked, approaching with exaggerated movements. "Oh wait, you can't even reach down there, can you?" For 40 years, Dorothy had been a fixture at Miller's Diner. She knew every imperfection in the counter, every mark on the walls. She'd spent 2 decades serving customers here before her stroke forced an early retirement. Now she survived on a modest pension and the dignity that no amount of cruelty could strip away. "Check out those compression stockings," Connor announced, using his foot to lift Dorothy's pant leg. "That's revolting." Approximately 15 people occupied the diner that morning. Every single one witnessed the harassment. Every single one heard the taunts. Not one person intervened. Some averted their gaze uncomfortably. Others buried themselves in their phones. The teenage waitress froze mid-pour, but when Tyler glanced her direction, she retreated behind the counter. This was the curse of small-town dynamics. Everyone knew these young men. Tyler and Brad came from wealthy farming families. Connor's father owned the largest dealership in the county. Jake and Ryan were notorious for wild parties and minor infractions that somehow never resulted in serious consequences. Their parents played poker with the sheriff every weekend. "Honestly, people like her should just stay home," Jake declared, the group now encircling Dorothy's table like. Something shifted in her demeanor. Memories flickered across her face. 3 weeks ago, Tyler accidentally ramming her chair. 2 weeks ago, Brad's loud comments about that old person smell. Last week, Connor filming her struggling to reach the sugar, posting it online with laughing emojis and the caption, "Can't even grab things by herself." She documented everything. Every insult, every gesture, every incident. Because Dorothy Patterson wasn't just some defenseless elderly woman these arrogant boys could torment without consequence. She was a mother who'd raised her son alone after losing her husband in a workplace accident. A mother who'd taught that son to never tolerate injustice, to always protect the vulnerable, and who'd raised exactly the type of person these spoiled young men should pray they'd never encounter. "Who are you calling, old lady?" Ryan snatched the phone from her grasp roughly. "The cops?" "My uncle is the sheriff, you." The call was already connected, on speaker. A deep, controlled voice echoed through the diner, "Mom, what's wrong?" Ryan stared at the device in his hand as if it might explode. "James," Dorothy's voice trembled, but steel ran underneath it. "Those boys again. They broke my plate. Ruined my clothes. They're surrounding me." The silence on the other end lasted 2 heartbeats that seemed to drain all oxygen from the room. "Mom, you still at Miller's?" "Yes." "Don't move. I'm 10 minutes away." The call disconnected. Ryan returned the phone with suddenly uncertain movements. Tyler forced a nervous laugh. "Oh, terrifying. Mommy's boy is coming. What's he gonna do, complain to our parents?" But his voice cracked noticeably. None of them understood who James Patterson actually was. But in the next few minutes, as Dorothy sat in absolute silence with the faintest smile playing on her lips, they were about to find out. And when they did, there would be no going back. Dorothy's composure was unsettling now, as if the past 15 minutes of humiliation had been merely the opening act of something far more significant. Something she'd been patiently cultivating, awaiting the perfect moment. The young men exchanged uncomfortable glances, sensing for the first time that they'd crossed an invisible boundary. Outside, the rumble of a powerful engine grew louder. Not typical traffic, something heavier, more purposeful. Something that made the glassware vibrate. And Dorothy simply waited, hands folded, eyes locked on the entrance, as if summoning a storm of her own making. The black Dodge Charger stopped outside Miller's with precision that rattled the windows. James Patterson emerged, 6'3" of solid muscle, shaved head, arms covered in tattoos that told stories most people would never experience. But the most disturbing aspect wasn't his intimidating appearance. It was the absolute control in every movement, the efficiency of someone trained to act, never react. When he entered, his eyes swept the room in 2 seconds flat, identifying exits, counting occupants, locating cameras, and finally settling on the 5 young men still clustered around his mother. "Mom." His voice softened as he knelt beside her chair, examining the coffee stains, the shattered porcelain. "Are you hurt?" "No, son. I'm fine now." Dorothy placed her trembling hand on his face, and for a moment, his expression melted completely, the same tenderness from childhood, when she worked double shifts to keep food on their table. He rose slowly, facing the 5. "Someone want to explain this?" Tyler, still betting on his usual confidence, stepped forward. "Look, man, it was just messing around. Your mom's overreacting." Messing around. James tasted the words. Breaking an elderly woman's plate, humiliating someone in a wheelchair, that's messing around to you? Relax, dude. My dad owns the biggest operation around here. We'll pay for the plate, Brad tried, as if money erased humiliation. James didn't move, but something shifted in his stance, like watching a predator calculate whether prey was worth pursuing. "Your names. All of them." "Who the hell do you think?" Connor started, but the sentence died when James took one step forward. "My name is James Patterson. Navy SEAL. 10 years active duty. 3 tours Afghanistan, 2 Iraq. Currently tactical instructor for Special Forces. And I take care of my mother." He paused meaningfully. "Now. Your names. I won't repeat myself." The silence was crushing. Even the waitress stopped pretending to work. "Navy SEAL." The words hung like a death sentence. Tyler Morrison, the leader, finally muttered, all arrogance evaporating. The others followed, Brad Hansen, Connor Wright, Jake Davidson, Ryan Mitchell. James pulled out his phone, not to call anyone, but to document. Full names. Addresses. Parents' names. "This is harassment," Jake protested weakly. "Harassment is what you did to my mother. I have witnesses, cameras, and most importantly, I have documentation that this isn't the first time. So cooperate now, or I make this official. Your choice." Ryan cracked first, information spilling out like confession. The others followed, realizing resistance meant worse consequences. James completed his notes, then faced them. "Here's what happens now. First, you pay for everything, the plate, my mother's meal, her dry cleaning. Second, you apologize. Really apologize. Do you think I'm invisible? I worked here when your parents were children. I've seen this town grow. I've watched good people and bad. And you? You have everything and appreciate nothing." James helped Dorothy stand. "You have 24 hours. Tomorrow, same time, I'm knocking on your parents' doors. Decide whether you'd rather tell this story your way, or wait for me to tell it mine." As they left, Dorothy's purse lay open in the back seat. Inside, 3 weeks of meticulous documentation. Time-stamped photos. Audio recordings. Written testimonies from other customers who witnessed but never intervened. Dorothy Patterson wasn't a passive victim. She was a woman who'd learned over 7 decades that justice rarely arrives on its own. Sometimes you build it, piece by piece, until the foundation is unshakable. And now, with her son beside her and evidence that could destroy those privileged families' reputations, she was about to deliver a lesson none of those young men would forget. If you want to see how this story of justice unfolds, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Echoes of Adium for more stories of underdogs rising and bullies getting exactly what they deserve. What happened next would transform 5 entitled lives forever, and prove that sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one everyone underestimated.